Good evening, everybody. This is the Finance Committee. It is Thursday, March 19th, 2026. I have 4:03. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. And we do have 2 members that are Zooming today, and we do have a quorum. I'm looking at the agenda. Is there any public comment on any matter that's not on the agenda? Does anybody on the committee have any comment? Item number 3, review and possible vote on minutes of prior meetings, March 12th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of March 12th?
So moved.
That's Kate.
Mary, Roy has a question.
Roy? Roy?
You're muted. Roy.
Roy, yeah, Roy, you're muted.
I was just seconding the motion.
Oh, you're seconding it. Okay.
Yes.
That's Roy. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roy, Paul. That's, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 0. On to the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the budget, and I'm going to turn it over to Rich and to Glenn. And I want to thank everybody for being here today on this subject. I'm here.
We did receive the final assessments from our Nauset this morning, which I'll talk to how it impacts our overall budget after we let these folks make their presentations, so don't need to bog them down. But we're about where we were, maybe slightly better. And so things are looking up for us. I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent of the Nauset schools to go through their presentation. And we just received their presentation, and I'll share that on the screen. I did email it to you all, but it came very late. So what's on the screen is the latest. Superintendent?
Okay, thank you, everyone, and good afternoon. You have, we'll go through a slide deck here, and the financials is, as you all know better than I, this being my first time through, things are evolving fairly quickly, but we're working through. Thank you. We're working through the process and just wrapping up with one more public hearing, actually after this meeting with Wellfleet. So thank you for your patience, and particularly with yours truly as I make my way through this budget process for the first time. I want to start by saying I didn't pay these people who are here in the audience with me, but we do have a small entourage. But in particular, folks will be happy, I know, to help out in responding to questions. In particular, just to draw attention to 2 gentlemen some of you have gotten to know over the course of this year, helping out in the finance department. Paul Donlin, who is here in person, and Bob Dutch, who is joining remotely. They both serve, as we'll speak of just a moment, a little bit more about in terms of the interim finance director capacity. Next slide, please. Getting to this point in any budget, whether a regional school district or not, certainly is contingent upon and relying upon the efforts combined of many individuals. This opportunity to say thank you to the ongoing support of our Eastham School Committee members, a number of whom are here tonight, and our Nauset Regional School Committee members as well. And of course, those working collectively with our administrative team, both at the central office and, of course, at the schools, Eastham Elementary and the middle school and the high school. Next slide, please. In terms of district leadership, there's some things that are continuing to evolve, and I think just taking this opportunity to inform this committee and those residents of Eastham who might be tuning into this at some point, I think just a nice opportunity to bring some focus to this. First off, finance and operations, obviously an important aspect of our operations to this committee, to any of our towns, and I recognize that indeed. We, as you know, are we the district are working through a time of transition. with the exit of two key leaders within the finance department towards the end of last school year. Despite efforts to attract and retain full-time staff in those departments, we are relying upon and leaning heavily upon two gentlemen, as I mentioned a few moments ago, Bob Dutch and Paul Donlin. Bob has been helping with really a focused effort on the region. And so if there are questions as we go through the presentation, he's joining remotely as mentioned, and I know he'll be able to help out. And Paul Donlin, who's here, has been helping focus on the elementary side of things. The positions are still vacant, but I just want to speak to the fact that, one of the things that was recently done as an effort to try and expand possibly the candidate pool was to change the title from director to assistant superintendent. I just want to clarify, it's not the creation of a new position. It was a change in title. And by all accounts, that I think made an impact on the candidate pool. There are many districts throughout the Commonwealth who are looking for these positions. It is not just a challenge here on Nauset or the Cape. There are, I think last count, about a month and a half, 15 or more districts who have vacancies in this for this position. We are currently interviewing literally this week as we speak, and we're hopeful that we'll have some strong candidates to move forward in the process. But until that point in time, we continue to rely upon Bob and Paul. In terms of district leadership, just a quick recap. Some of these names I'm going to guess that members of the committee are aware or know of. In addition to myself as part of the leadership team, we have the Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, Vicki Saldana. Vicki is new, along with myself, joining the district this year. Director of Human Resources, Deidre L'Italian. Director of Student Services, Matt Kravitz. Matt's here this afternoon. Our Director of Technology, Taylor Rye. Director of Nutrition and Food Services, Sue Murray. And Director of Wellness, Mary Ellen Reed. So the current fiscal year 26 budget includes 9 district leaders. The FY27 plan that's before you and other member towns, it's important to point out, does include the addition of 2 additional positions. One, the Director of Communications and Community Engagement, which I'll speak to a little bit more in a moment, and the Assistant Director of Nutrition and Food Services. But I think it's really important to point out that it's only the Director of Communications that impacts the budgets. The Assistant Director of Nutrition and Food Services, the plan for that fiscally is to use revolving funds that we have in our food and nutrition revolving funds to pay for that position in its entirety. Nothing has changed at the school and building leadership level. That is to say, we have 7 schools in the district. Each has its own principal, and the assistant principals are only within the middle school and the high school. Next slide, please. I just thought to start before getting into the budgets, first with Eastham Elementary and then followed by the region, just to give members of the committee and the Eastham community a little bit of a sense of sort of the key areas that as your superintendent, I have in the forefront in terms of our thinking of going into next fiscal year. Not necessarily in any particular order. First, enhance communication. It is abundantly clear to me coming into this position and even before I started that there really is a strong desire from our community members, both those that may have children in the school system as well as those that might not, that there's really a desire to have improved communication across our school system. That's not to suggest that we don't have pockets of it that is effective, but overall, there's a clear theme that has been gathered through a variety of surveys and feedback tools that points to this direction. And that really led to this proposed position that is making its way through the budget, and that's the Director of Communications and Community Engagement. I'll expand upon that in just in a moment. Of course, the opening of the Nauset Regional High School, a wonderful ribbon cutting celebration. Some of you, I know, were in attendance at that last weekend. And we're looking forward to not only growing in that facility with our high school program, but of course, fulfilling the goal, and that is to really embrace the opportunity for community members at large to use that amazing facility as we move forward. Teaching and learning, we have a number of areas that we're focusing on, but just two that just to bring foremost attention to: artificial intelligence, AI. Not really many days that go by where we don't hear about that on our own our own lives and worlds. That holds true in education as well too. And we have efforts that are focused on that, as well as really taking a deeper dive in terms of looking at instructional alignment and instructional practices across our schools. That is clearly very important as we move forward. And pre-kindergarten programming, a topic that has certainly come up more recently. It's a program that it's abundantly clear to me we need to spend time as a school system looking closer at. We have to offer this program. FAPE is free and appropriate education. We are obligated, like any public school is. Currently, there's one location that's housed in Brewster, one of our elementary schools, but it's abundantly clear that we need to take a very close look at this programming going forward in service for our communities and also from the standpoint of fiscal resources. Next slide, please. I just expand a little bit on communication and the proposed position. They're really, we can't underscore, and I certainly don't undervalue the importance of communication, that holds as a value in serving as a glue to hold together a school system, an organization that's as large as ours, and really even more so across multiple towns. Nauset obviously serves the critical importance of that. The goal with this position is really to help ensure, and I think this is important to underscore, that this is not just about families. It's not just about students, but it's also about staff and residents at large to really make sure that we can foster strong and effective two-way communication. And the strategy really centers around having one person who has a strong skill set and a knowledge to weave this all together across our 7 schools and across our 4 towns. Next slide, please. I think really when you're thinking about communication, the challenge has become abundantly clear to me very quickly. We have a lot of silos. That could be individual schools, that could be individual towns. That's a challenge, more so than, say, if we were one school system in service for one town. There's also no question that there's an immense opportunity, that opportunity to really scream from the hilltops in terms of the great work, the great things that are happening in this amazing school system. And I think we can do a better job at that, making sure that people know what Nauset is all about and what that experience looks like. And that experience, that last part on the right-hand side, really thinking about how we can also ensure that families, as they make their way through the school system, have similar experiences in terms of communication and access to resources as they make their way through the school system. That is also important. Next slide, please. The role, I'll go through this really quickly, but in terms of what this position, fair questions if one were to ask, well, what would this do? Community engagement, really focusing in on what that looks like. Content governance, and this is more than just, as I've talked about previously, the web site management, but it's also ensuring that we have current information that's out there and really leveraging social media. Lots of folks, of course, are leaning into that, and we really think that this is a great opportunity for that as well. Next slide, please. And the final point on this, and just thinking about communication and thinking about knowledge and awareness of our school system, is this reality. And it's hard to divorce, and there's a fiscal connection clearly in terms of what this all looks like. It's not lost upon me, as I've said in different places before, that families everywhere, not just in Nauset, have choice. And I don't mean school choice in and of itself about that, but private schools, charter schools, homeschooling. There are an immense number of choices for families, and that's a good thing. But it seems to me like what we want to really carefully consider is how we can make sure that families have the utmost information that's clear and that sells Nauset as a great choice for families and, in turn, children to consider going to. The data that's on the right-hand side is actual data. And this is some might know these numbers. Charter tuition expense per student right now in the Department of Education or across the Commonwealth is a little over 26,000. Total Nauset students leaving through this charter avenue, if you will, is 121. That is a large number. And so as I think about this, it's maybe hard to measure, I recognize, but to me, the more that we can ensure that families have access to information that helps make them that choice, certainly seems to me like that could lead to the possibility of more students thinking carefully and deeper before they decide to pursue an education somewhere else.
Glenn, I have a question, Glenn. Have you ever done any type of survey to to discuss why these folks are leaving?
I have not here in Nauset yet.
Mhm.
I will tell you, this is there's certainly parallels to where I was last in service as a superintendent in Wilmington. Although the exit of students was to tech schools, we lost or saw a number of students who chose to. So we did try to gather that feedback. What we found is sometimes it's hard, right? People have already left and they may not choose to give you that time, but it's definitely something that should be pursued
Mhm.
and at least efforts made to try and gather what information we can. I think that, that not to put all the stock in a communications person, but another avenue that could help us with that. I think it's important to try and
Mhm.
recognize that, just as part of our feedback.
I agree.
Yeah,
Just
Mary, I have one question. Is that number growing, the 121? Is that grown? I mean, is part of it a result of the construction zone that Nauset Regional High School was?
That's a great question. I will be entirely honest. I haven't had a chance to take a closer look at the trend data, but that's certainly something I could assure you I will be looking at. I know there's the theories out there, which on one hand might make sense. Did children leave because of construction, under construction, and there's other choices? Possibly. We'll see. But what I can tell you, and I don't have the numbers exact off the top of my head, but we did see the number of charter school students at the middle school level drop. And so that we've seen an adjustment, but that's something that as I move forward and we go into next year, I'll be keenly interested in, and that can be part of this information campaign around the budget going forward.
Promoting other schools and to drop cost per student down at this point, or is that not?
Steve, you sure?
We still remain open to or offering school choice for other communities, and that certainly can be part of this campaign. But I'm really thinking about it as the Nauset families and the Nauset students, those in our 4 towns, to make sure that we can do the very best to provide them with information before they decide to pursue an education experience elsewhere. Last 2 sort of district-wide priorities. Next slide. I talked a little bit about this with the last piece around student and family attraction and retention. There clearly is a nexus with finances, but it's also about trying to ensure that we can stabilize enrollment and the development of a new strategic plan. Just to share with members that we are embarking upon this. And next slide. Thank you so much to so many who expressed an interest in participating. These are those from all different stakeholder groups that, in fact, just came together last evening for what I think was our 3rd, maybe 4th session around helping contribute to the construction of the new Nauset strategic plan, which we're on course to have together by the time we get to the summer. In the interest of time, I'll go just really quickly through the next few slides, because if they look a little familiar, you wouldn't be incorrect about that. These are ones that I included the budget workshop back in January. But I just thought in terms of the package for those that may not have been in attendance at that workshop or those in the community that just weren't there. Obviously, a lot of focus on enrollment holds true everywhere. And I just think it's, again, important to bring to the fact that there's a heightened interest in this across the Commonwealth, number one. Number 2, there's factors that have been identified to clearly point to why it is that this enrollment drop may be happening. And there's some information there, again, in the interest of time, I won't dig into, but it's there for those that might be interested. The next couple of slides, again, they're those that were included at the budget workshop. But just providing an overview of what the 3-year enrollment comparisons look like across Nauset public schools. There is no question trending downward. But to the next slide, there's also no question that we, unfortunately, are in shared company. And this is a snapshot of the similar fiscal years across the Cape and the islands. And that bottom number, a drop that's caught many people's attention, the state overall, you can see dropped down the very bottom row by 15,000 students in public districts statewide across the area. And then the last slide, just as a reminder, speaking of school choice on Cape Cod, these are the districts that participate in school choice in that large blue box there. And this gives you a view of what school choice numbers in to the middle school and the high school looked like over the last few years, and then school choice out, the bottom right-hand side.
Excuse me, Glenn, are the enrollment information, what date is that as of?
These are October 1st numbers.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Getting into the budgets, this is a recap of the information that we've shared. First, starting with the elementary school, most recently at the budget hearing, and then followed by the region. You can give a snapshot here of what we're planning and anticipating rather for Eastham Elementary enrollment going forward. And down the bottom is, and again, these are all to the point October 1 numbers that give you a snapshot view of what the enrollment looks like going forward, projecting just under 180 students at Eastham for next year. Next slide, please. This gives you a snapshot of classroom size in correspondence to number of teachers that's being planned for Eastham next year. Next slide. Getting into the budget drivers, talked with the Eastham School Committee about these. Central office salaries, the Director of Communications, as mentioned, that is a new position. And as many are aware, and as I've come to learn, this kind of position gets incorporated into the central office budget. This is the only new position that I put forth going into next fiscal year. But it is included as part of the central office budget plan. Central office expenses, there were a number of reclassifications last year that members of this committee undoubtedly were aware, if you were on the committee, moving expenses that were previously in the region and thought to be more appropriately reclassified into the central office budget. There were two holdovers, carryovers, whichever way you want to describe them, it was anticipated or expected that they would have been shifted into the central office budget, but they did not. Then that was realized just at the first part of February. Employers' share of Medicare and Barnstable County retirement through the support of the central office subcommittee, and then in turn, the joint school committee. These two expenses were added into the central office budget, and we believe at this point now finalizes all those reclassifications. Special education pre-K tuition certainly is something, as I mentioned earlier at the outset, programmatically is important and essential for us to offer. But the expenses there did serve as a budget driver going forward. Out of district transportation and special education collaborative tuition, and this is specifically here at Eastham Elementary, also served, as we shared with the school committee on a few occasions, as budget drivers going forward. Next slide, please. The total budget that's before you in the town for consideration for the Eastham Elementary for fiscal year 27. This gives you a snapshot of how this is broken down with a total operating budget of just a little over $5.2 million. You can see the various categories, personnel, obviously one of the largest categories, and this holds true across all of our schools. You can see the utility cost, transportation regular and special education costs. Those are broken down specifically as part of our year-end reporting for the Department of Education. Yes, it is indeed a rather large number for special education. Just to point out, that can be for special education transportation within district. It certainly also is for students that are attending school out of district. Textbooks, materials, supplies, and you can see the rest: repairs, maintenance, special education tuition, and building leadership in that central office budget.
I have a question on the total, the 5.2 million, 3 million.
Yes.
What is the increase from the budget for this year?
Next slide, please. So this, if I'm not mistaken, and Paul, you can help me out, is in the background there. The overall change or increase. No, that's not the right.
9.99?
9.99. Yes, thank you. Do you want me to pause there for a minute, or do you want me to keep?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
It's scary.
Jerry does have.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Jerry?
yes. Do we know how many students are involved in that special ed transportation at 200 and whatever it was, 290,000?
224.
224?
Matt or Bill, can you help out with that? You know?
So that number is made up of our students that are attending out of district, which there are 3, and all of our in district. And it's a matter of economy of scales. The larger bus maintains more students, so it's less per student, whereas a smaller special education bus has less students on it. So the exact number of students in Eastham Elementary that ride special education transportation, I don't have with me. But that number is composed of that as well as the out of district. However, special education in Eastham is right around 35 students in total.
Thank you. In the change of 474, is that made up mostly by the increase by the 3 out of district students?
No, transportation as a whole has gone up significantly this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, the regardless of district placements.
Sorry, one more time.
Let's talk about the assessment of the placements.
Out of district placements.
Not just transportation.
Oh, yes. So out of district expenses, some of the schools went up significantly this last year.
Can I ask you a question, Matt, while you're up there?
Sure.
For special education, because I know it's, it's expensive, but it's also probably challenging on the students because it's a long day. It's a lot of
Mhm.
transportation. It could be, I don't know, 2 hours to get somewhere, probably off Cape Cod. Do we track like success rates of integrating them into the Nauset school system by the time they're in middle school or high school?
Our goal is to have our out of district elementary students return to us by middle school. If they're not back by middle school, the odds of getting them reintegrated go down to next to nothing. There are certain populations that we're very, very successful with keeping in-house, and there are populations that are much better served going out of district for specialized programming because we can't service everyone for every single need. So for example, students with more profound autism, especially as they get older, there are many specialized programs that do excellent work, especially as they transition into adulthood, that we just do not have the capacity to serve. However, there are many areas that we are very, very successful keeping our students in.
Is it possible, or is it happening too, where some of them probably, the same students that are, maybe we're transporting 2 hours, by the time they're in middle school or high school, can they be closer on the Cape, like the collaborative or something
At
like?
times, absolutely. We always try to keep kids as close as possible. Having 2 students go to the Cape Cod Collaborative from here still can be an hour each way, given its location. One student being significantly further than that, but we do everything that we can to keep kids as close as possible. Unfortunately, there's only the Cape Cod Collaborative and the Riverview School that's on this side of the bridge. Once you go over the bridge, there's many, many schools, but then you're adding a lot of time to that ride.
So about how many, 50%, 60, 30, is there a percentage of how many students are then integrated into the school, or it's kind of a moving target? It's really not.
It's a very moving target. It's individual. Most of our students that are out of district are older. They're at region level. Across all the elementaries, there's not many. As students' disabilities do evolve, sometimes it does require more than schools can offer, which is very common.
Thank you.
Ron?
Another question on.
Not done yet, I guess, right?
Sorry.
We need you again.
There's a Boston Globe. Yeah, let me get in there. I'm not going to face you. I'll face the microphone. Sorry. There was a Boston Globe story this week on turnover among special ed teachers that said it wasn't about the Cape specifically, but said it's an enormous problem. It cited a 1/3 turnover every year. And just could you talk a bit about how much of the issue is it for us here?
We're very fortunate. We do not see the turnover that you see in other areas. Now, I did not read that article, so I can't speak to what specific populations. Having worked, this is my 26th year in the industry in special education. There's a lot of turnover in the lower level positions and mid-tier positions, but many, many people stick with it their entire careers. We are very blessed with having people that once they come in and dedicate, they ride it right through their career.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to, thank you for that. Moving on to the middle school and high school. Just before we get into the budgets and big picture, next slide, please. I think it's important just to spend a few moments to remind everyone about where all of these hard-earned dollars go and where the budgets end up, because we get caught up, of course, in building these budgets and FTEs and percentage increases in transportation. But of course, at the heart of what this is all about is the children we serve. The middle school and high school are, as I've come to, just two fine institutions here that there's much to be proud of as members of our towns. And just some quick highlights. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, that one. Just some in no particular order here. A lot of great work that's going on as this new high school gets up and running. Construction is in the rearview mirror almost, and really just an opportunity to move into fully the new campus. Our instructional leadership team has now been together. I think this is their third year together. And so there's cohesion that's building with them, and they're focusing on their work with the faculty and staff. And that's bridging into attention to curriculum to continue to push and expand and improve the curriculum that is provided at the high school for our students in grades 9 through 12. School attendance is something that also across the state has been a big focus. You may have seen headlines around that, and rightly so, especially since the pandemic. There has been an impact on student attendance in many pockets, but it's and appropriately so a focus. And we will also, as a school system, be focusing on this a little bit more as we move forward. Next slide, please. Priorities going forward, and this is first at the high school, and then we'll shift to the middle school. Just gives you a little bit of a sense, a little bit of a flavor of the ongoing work that's there in support of teaching and learning. If you have not had a chance to get into or visit that campus, I would certainly encourage you to do so. Long time coming, as I've come to learn, for those who have been involved in this project or supportive of it, but what a fantastic institution it is, and will serve this area well for many years to come. At the middle school, lots of great things happening there. We have a strong leadership team that is also stabilized, and after a lot of turnover, as I understand it. But Peter Cohen and his staff are doing great things, and that is catching on. I'm hearing a lot about that secondhand. I hope you might be too, if you're connected to families who have children in that middle school. A strong and growing performing arts program you can see here with great things happening. Next slide, please. Looking for opportunities and ways to broker connections with our community agencies, of which I've learned there's so many wonderful agencies and partners throughout our community here. Just gives you a little bit of a flavor of some of the work that recently some of our middle school students have been engaged in. And then the next slide, in terms of the NRMS, of course, Nauset Regional Middle School, some things that they're working on. The Nauset House system, the top right-hand corner, has been brought on by Peter Cohen and some of his staff to really help try to speak to that middle school child. The middle school level can be challenging at times, but looking for ways to meaningfully integrate and make the students feel connected to the school. And this is a great new development that he's brought on board. Community connections and learning, some wonderful programs, Earth Keepers, you might have heard of that, the Greenhouse program, really terrific programs that I can tell you don't find in all middle schools everywhere. So some great things that are happening there. Shifting into the budget, again, thank you to members of the region, in this case, Regional School Committee, who have been partners in the development of this work. And we'll go into the next slide, please. Staffing trends, very understandably, an area as we talk about declining enrollment, that rightly so, folks would say, well, how does that parallel with staffing, and what as an organization are you doing about that? This is something that I had a chance to take a closer look to, and I've come to learn that, the focus has really been trying to reduce where possible through attrition primarily, as opposed to reductions in force or layoffs. And you can see the numbers here. You might say, well, how is it possible to have a point? Aren't bodies whole? Fair question. But
half a person.
Yeah, an arm here and a leg there. FTEs, FTE, the acronym full-time equivalent. It is the case that sometimes we have part-time positions. There just may not be enough work or workload that warrants a full-time person. Sometimes somebody might be shared, partially between the middle school, partially between the high school. So that's why you get that decimal point. But what you can see here is over time, the reduction that has happened, more specifically at the high school. somewhat trailing the middle school, but overall as a district, and you can see the last few years. This is also a metric that, of course, I'll be carefully watching and working closely with our leadership on. But I think it's just important to point out that reductions in staffing are being made and will continue to be made where it's not going to undercut or erode the program, but where there's opportunities, through attrition.
Thanks, Kate. Paul?
Yeah, thank you. Just staying on that slide, it would be helpful if you could track that against the decline in students. Because back in the envelope math says over that 5-year period, you've lost, if my arithmetic's right, you've lost a higher percentage of students than you've lost a percentage of teachers.
Right.
Is there any way to speak to that?
Not as I sit before you this afternoon. However, it's an important question. It's a fair question, and something that I can tell you I've, in my previous role, in previous district rather, worked closely on analyzing this, because the numbers themselves, and I don't know that that's the case here, but the numbers themselves sometimes don't tell the whole story. And what I mean by that is, we talked a little bit earlier about special education programming as an example. If it's been the case, and I just haven't had enough time to gather a deeper sense of this, that we've been building, and I think this is true though, we've been building programs to keep some of our students that may have gone out of district in district. A great thing for the student, a great thing for the families, of course. Oftentimes that comes with an increase in staff. And so I'm not saying that necessarily was the case here, but I can tell you that as I move into this role, that kind of analysis is absolutely fair and can be done to sort of take a look at, well, what does our overall enrollment look like? What does some of our special education programming look like? And how does the staff correspond with those changes and adjustments? So I'm sorry I can't give you more than that tonight, but it's something that is something we'll take a look at.
I understand, and I sprung it on you, but can I make a request that we have it for next year? And as long as I'm making requests for next year, and you mentioned this in passing, if you could give us a report next year on what you think the 3 biggest drivers are on the reason that student population is going down. Going back to your slide, when you compared it to the state, if I did my arithmetic right, our rate of losing students is 3 times faster than the state overall. So as long as I'm making requests, if we can do both those things for next year, I'd be a happy boy.
I appreciate the advance notice, and I'll get on that.
You can leave
That's
that
very,
alone.
that's,
Start
that
working
is,
on it.
joking aside, that's very fair. And I do think important part of our story as we move forward. Next,
And I do have a question sort of on the same subject. At what point do you decide not to continue to have a class?
well, that's a fair question. And I think really, really what it will depend on is the array of programs we want to offer, right? And so as Vicky, our assistant superintendent, and I work with our, in this case, the middle school and high school principal, one of the fine balances I've come to recognize is, and particularly the high school, right? You want to make sure that you can still have a strong array of classes, the piece about attracting and retaining students, right? Sometimes, though, if the enrollment drops such that it means that it's not either fiscally feasible or prudent to continue to offer that, we'll have to explore. And there are other opportunities for which students can access courses beyond just the 4 walls of the high school. So it depends on what it might be. And I know that Pat Clark at the high school has been looking at that. He's talking about that sometimes. Sometimes there may be a cohort, say, let's studying a second language, and they may be making their way through the system or the school, but there may not be kids trailing them. So that would be a point at which maybe there'll be a phase out of that kind of program. So it really it depends at the secondary level, middle and high school. So.
Thank you.
The next slide gives you a 20,000-foot view of what the finances look like rolled up for the middle school and high school. It gives you a comparative sense between fiscal year 26, of course, the fiscal year that we are in right now, and then in comparison, both as a dollar change as well as a percentage change. This is broken down, as you can see, by salaries and expenses. And the top, the grade box is the middle school. The bottom box, the blue, is the high school. And I just bring attention to those bottom right-hand numbers in each of the respective boxes. You know, we have an overall contractual increase going into the third year of our collectively bargained agreement at 3.25%. Some may be aware of that. But the overall expenses of the middle school rising, salaries and expenses combined at 3.15%. And the high school, and that is not a typo, that is accurate at under 1%. And that under 1% comes about through that attrition and reduction of staffing that I was mentioning earlier. There were positions that, as I've come to learn, that were originally included in the fiscal 26-year budget for the high school, but after the development approval process, some staff left for various reasons, and the administration determined that they could move forward without filling those positions. That's why that overall increase, particularly at the high school, is where it sits. So I just think that's important to bring focus to. The next sheet, as I've come to learn, has a lot of interest here across Nauset. The big sheet, I think it's called a few different things, but this is the sheet that provides you with a really more detailed or finer view of both the expenses as well as the revenue. And this, for those that may have been following the work at the Regional School Committee, this has been evolving through those respective meetings and just was finalized last night at their public hearing for the budget. The top portion gives you the budget centers, so central office, the region shared, the region share of central office, the region only budget, and of course the middle school and high school. And then the total regional expenses in a comparative view from fiscal year 26 to 27. And you can see the overall percentage increase change at 1.69%. When you factor in revenue and the revenue sources, and those various revenue sources these hopefully look familiar to you, as Bob Dutch has done his very best to work with our subcommittee to roll these together. And you can see how that plays itself out in terms of the impact on the total operating budget. Bringing attention specifically to excess and deficiency, E&D, that's second from the bottom under the sort of the midsection there. And there is a plan to utilize a lower amount overall as an offset for the revenue for fiscal year 27's budget at $1 million. So the overall increase you can see there, 4.81%. And then the bottom lines add in construction debt service and capital projects with the total assessments down the bottom there, the bottom right-hand corner. Speaking of assessments, the next slide gives you a more detailed view of the kind of information that I know there's a lot of interest in terms of the assessments. This gives you both a snapshot view of the capital, and I have a little bit more information on the capital if you bear with me just a moment, and then the various calculations according to the statutory assessment that you can see. I know a lot of numbers here that are coming together, but what the approved FY27 budget is that now sits before you as a committee in the towns, and how Chapter 70 and minimal local contribution factor in.
Mary, Jerry has a question, and Glenn, I'm just anticipating the question. If maybe you alluded to it, can you explain the difference of the percentages between the capital and the operating?
Bob, could you weigh in on that? Did you hear that question?
I did. So the regional agreement, within the regional agreement, it specifies the methodology for determining the assessment for the operating expenses, which is based on percentage of students in the district from each town, based on enrollment, including foundation enrollment. So that includes all students that are enrolled in the school, school choice students, and charter students that live in the district and are going to charter schools. The capital assessment is calculated a little bit differently, still as a percent enrollment, but it's based on the enrollment of students in the two schools from each community. So just the middle school and the high school, and excluding school choice enrollment and charter school students living in the district. So the total population that we're utilizing is smaller for the capital assessment.
Can I ask what date are you using? What date for the enrollment are you using
October 1 figures.
for everything that you're talking about?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
The regional agreement also
J-
dictates that we utilize October 1 numbers.
Jerry?
Yes, thank you, Mary. Glenn, I had a question going back on the previous slide. If you could explain, thank you for going back to there. Explain the significant drops in charter school aid, state transportation aid, and well, the other one is not, those two, do we know, can you just elaborate a bit about that, the drop in aid?
I'll take a pass, and Bob, feel free to jump in. First, with state transportation aid, we have we're no longer. I think I'm getting this right. No longer paying for leases as we go into next year for buses, and so those have dropped off. And so it is because of that that we're anticipating. We know that we will have just less transportation aid flowing in. Correct, Bob, on that?
That's correct. Our expenses are less, and therefore
Right.
our reimbursement is less as well because it's a percentage.
Makes sense. Okay. Thank
And
you
in terms of
for
the
that.
charter school aid, that Bob, correct, that has to do with the decline in middle school enrollment specifically. Is that right?
Correct. You have more students remaining in your own district and not going to the charter schools, and therefore your aid that you're getting is less as well.
So then in that sense, the expenses are dropping and the aid's dropping. So we are getting a benefit up on the expense side and a drop on the revenue side. Is that it?
Correct.
Thank you very much. Sorry to make you go backwards.
Oh,
No
good.
problem.
Just to dovetail off Jerry, that would mean that the assistant therapist, the tech and curriculum director, which is down 49%, that would be a result of what you were just talking about as well?
Somewhat. We've modified those positions are shared positions where the staff are shared between schools, and we've decreased the sharing of those positions, and actually due to greater need in the buildings, there are actually fixed positions that are part of the elementary district expenses and not part of a shared expense.
Okay, so the dollars have
So we're bringing in less revenue as a result because we're not charging for that directly from the regional district.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have a question, Glenn, back on the regional share. Last year, there were some items that were found that were felt they shouldn't be under the region, that should be sent out to the individual
Right.
towns. And it was my understanding that additional work was going to be done to make sure that that was the end of that type of situation. Has that work been done, and how does that affect this budget?
My understanding is that it all has been completed, with the exception of those two that I pointed out near the beginning, the Barnstable County and employer's share of health insurance, Medicare. Sorry, Medicare. So unless there's something that has yet to be detected, and keeping in mind, Bob and Paul coming in as green as can be to try to understand this, but there was no knowledge of those carryovers until it was caught, like I said, at the beginning of February. But to collectively our knowledge, everything else that was identified to be reclassified has been reclassified.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Just to conclude, just information on capital, just to give you a sense of this. This also went before both the capital subcommittee as well as the the regional school committee. This gives you a snapshot of the fiscal year 27 capital plan. That bottom line is, I'm sure most are aware, is related, that bottom line number is related to the regional agreement with a slight increase from one year to the next. But what you can see here is the focus, understandably so, more at the middle school, not the high school, given the state of things there. We are focused, though, our attention just to bring to yours is within the gym, there are at the middle school, there are two air handler units. One has failed, and the other sounds like it's not all that far behind. So there is elevated concern with the operation of that part of the facility. And so we're looking more closely at that. We don't want to get to a place where both units have failed, because that will be a problem in the cold months for both school use as well as community use. So we are actively exploring options regarding that, and that may include use of E&D, because that would qualify as an emergency with that one system that's now failed. So I'm happy to keep you posted as we go through this next phase. The last two slides, a lot of data here, but it just gives you an overall sense of the 5-year capital plan, where focus is on the particular areas across primarily, again, the middle school. And this just gives you a sense of the current planning based upon known needs at this point in time. So I know that's a lot. Thank you for your patience, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have.
Ross, just a quick question, sorry.
No, no, that's fine. Go ahead.
I just was curious about the age of the building, the middle school. Do we happen to know that? I mean, it's... Oh, wow, thank you. 1939 came from the audience.
We'll go with that.
Ron?
At the budget workshop, there were a couple points on accounting and internal controls raised in passing. For one, sounded like the district was having trouble getting an audit firm to get the financial statement audit done. I think that was late. At this point, there was the last time the district had been audited, there was a management letter that had some comments on a few internal controls points. And help me with this, but I think there was also some discussion of a software transition for accounting and control.
I'll start with the software transition, and then I'm sure Paul or Bob, if you want to speak to the letters and the audits. But the district, there was a decision made at some point last school year to transition to a new software program for financial reporting. Tyler Technology. Tyler is the name of the software. The central office has been working hard really all year to prepare for the transition that will come into effect July 1st. We're actually now working with parallel systems, that is to say, our current reporting system, and also doing sort of an internal soft launch to Tyler Technologies to make sure that everything's good to go for a July 1st launch. That will drastically improve the consistency and accuracy and possibilities for financial reportings, not just for our own work, but for our communities, for our school committee. So we are heading towards that launch of July 1st. In terms of the audit letters, Bob or Paul, you want to speak to that? If you would.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak. Well, I'm not happy to speak to it, but I will speak to it. The FY 24 audit, as when I walked in, was pending. We finally have a draft version of that, and we are awaiting the final version of the FY 24 audit. I have asked twice when they'll begin the field work for the FY 25 audit and have not gotten a response as yet. Just to give you some background, the district had contracted with Powers and Sullivan, who was then bought out by Markham and Associates, who's now been bought out by CBiz. And each of those has gotten progressively larger as a firm. And as they've gotten progressively larger and taken on more clients, absorbing the others, in theory, they should be growing their staff, and they have not, unfortunately. So they're behind. In my conversations with other finance directors, they're behind in a lot of places. So that creates a bit of a challenge, and it's part of a conversation that we may have with the school committee to see if there's a way to move on to somebody else instead. Although we do have a 2-year contract with this company, and FY25 is the second of the 2 years. So we will work and be as diligent as possible to get the information out to you once the FY24 is final audit is finalized, and then similarly for the FY25, we've pulled everything together that we think they'll need, but obviously they've got to do their testing, the items they select for testing, and come out and do their field work. So we are waiting on that. I will say that Paul and I have looked at the FY23 and the draft of the FY24 audits. We've already made many of the recommended changes around internal controls that were suggested. We've also identified some things that, in our experience, we've seen as control concerns for ourselves, and have made modifications in processes as well, so that there are better controls to prevent potential fraud and just in general errors from happening across the board. So I hope that sufficiently responds to your question, although I'm sure you'd like to actually have a copy of the audit. So would we.
Yeah, thanks very much. It must be tough also when you're doing this on an interim basis.
Well, it's always difficult when you're jumping into the work that somebody else had initiated. If it was all work that I had done originally, it would certainly be much easier to backtrack and understand where things are coming from and whatnot. But it's not the reality of the situation. So we're doing the best we can.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jerry, you have a question?
Yeah, a comment and a little bit of a question. The first, Bob and Paul, thank you. I know it's difficult to jump in, and we appreciate that in Eastham, even though we'd like to get all the financial stuff right away. We don't have it. The second comment, I think, Glenn, I talked with you briefly at another meeting at another time, discussing some of the you'd had questions on communications and so forth, some of the angst that I think finance committees and select boards have within the 4 towns. Look at today, we have our budget hearing Monday. And this is today, we got the final, here's how much you owe, Eastham. And so, and that is part of the problem, I think, with some of the rough edges between the town and the schools. And I think you just be aware of that. It's difficult, and Wellfleet, I think, even has a town meeting earlier than ours. So it's that kind of an issue. The other is, have you looked at any ways to try and increase revenue? And I say this from an individual whose children a long, long time ago had to pay to park. I did ask, and Greg has not gotten back with the numbers of how much we've spent at the high school for parking lots, for the electricity and all of that, etc. How many slots are needed for staff? How many slots you want for visitors, and then how many slots are there in total? Especially as a regional school where we have to have a seat on the bus for every student, whether they take it or not. And I think it makes some sense to think about, even in a small way, to show the citizens of these 4 towns that we're looking to increase revenues, to really think about having, I think my kids, we used to have to pay, and it's a long time ago, $50 a semester to park. And I think that's something, or that kind of thing is something the schools should look into, to try and make a statement to the citizens that we're not just we're just not looking to cut all the time. Sometimes here's a way to try and get some fees. I mean, my kids also had to pay, all of them played sports. I had to pay a fee to have them play sports and stuff. And this is 25, 30 years ago in other areas. So I think that those are things that I'd like to see some discussion, some ideas, some things of, it's been raised before and sometimes it's just not thought of here. So therefore, we don't like it. But I think that that would be good communication to the towns to try and see if you can enhance some revenue.
Obviously a lot there, and thank you for the comments and I guess the questions. In terms of revenue, first I think certainly other school systems do institute fees for athletics. And those kind of things, transportation, although you are not able to as a regional school district. But for, say, a town setting, you could and some do. But what I guess I've really come to learn is that's a value statement in terms of the position, that where the community and the school committee might want to fall in terms of providing access for any and all families, right? Regardless of their financial means. I have no idea what the split might be between, for example, how many school districts charge a fee for athletics and those that don't. I don't know if it's 50-50 across 350 school districts across the Commonwealth. I'm not sure, but it probably is somewhere around there. And sort of that value of what do we want to stand for in terms of opportunity and access for our children. There's no question. I'll say the biggest thing that I think has caught my attention as a superintendent coming from a different context in a town setting, but where we were not losing as many children as we do to charter schools and other outbound school choice, and that. Certainly school choice is alive and well down here, and charter schools are healthy as well too. But when I first took a look at those numbers, I have to say I don't even know. My eyes popped out, and you have to understand I'm not used to seeing those kind of numbers. Students going out to tech schools, you don't see them in the same way, at least when you're in a town setting. I really firmly believe, though, that back to that earlier part of the conversation around attracting and retaining students. Well, not immediate revenue in and of itself in the same way that I know that you're, suggesting, that to me that could have a huge impact on financially the outbound revenue or the outbound fee funds from the school district. And, I'm not suggesting that that kind of choice for families is not a good one. When there's a good match and it's a good choice, that's terrific. But it comes back to if we can provide the most robust and attractive education for families. And I think we have what I've come to learn, a very comprehensive educational program at the high school and at the middle school. If that can help move the needle on how many students are actually, no matter what the overall enrollment is, are actually choosing to leave Nauset, that in and of itself will have a very positive impact on our overall financial affairs. So, grants is always a question. What does that look like? We are taking a hit on grants, as are all public entities, public institutions, and we're trying to be responsive for that. And at the same time, we'll also pursue grant money where and when it's available. But grant money for public education right now is in a tricky place. So we can't put too much stock in for me to be able to sit here and say we'll absolutely secure that to replace other funding. But we will pursue it when there's opportunities.
How many international students do you have? At one point, you had quite a few. Has COVID changed things and the world?
Don't remember the number. I think it's single digits though, but with one of my 3 or 4. Thank you.
It's just started.
I'm sorry, Judy? Because of, it stopped sort of because of COVID and visas and everything else? Mm.
Not one of the first to do it, and then it caught on,
Mhm.
and so the numbers went down, and then COVID wiped out.
Mhm.
So it just started last year.
Mhm.
This year.
Mhm. Thank you, Judy. Yeah, Roy, you had your hand up at some point. You're muted. Roy, you're muted.
I don't have a question.
Oh, yeah, oh. You were muted because you didn't have a question.
Right.
I have a couple of questions. I know the regionalization and efficiency study is being done, and I understand they're getting close to coming up with some ideas. How was that study impact or might impact the fiscal year next year?
That study is moving forward. Right now, I would say that the tentative timeline for final report is anticipated the end of June. And as per their charge, the consultants who were hired by, the four towns, to come up with a variety of recommendations as well as inclusive of possible buildings, but also beyond just infrastructure, but also other recommendations around efficiency. So it is, where that study goes, how it's received, and then how it might move forward if, within the towns will obviously, I'm eagerly and anxiously awaiting to see what comes out of that. I think, the reality is you all know very well too. I mean, we start our budget. I don't know. It's hard to say right now. We start our budget building process almost as soon as school gets underway. So, I based upon what I, and gleaning, I don't anticipate there'll be anything directly to impact next fiscal year 28.
20, no.
But, I guess that will remain to be seen.
And could you tell us what happened with the generator and during the storm for the high school?
I can do my best. Yes.
Okay.
The generator. So that building was designed with emergency use for emergency purposes, and as I understand it, everything was tested. The systems were tested, but they weren't tested in exact conditions, such that if power was cut. So I can't go into great detail about those assessments, but it was there was a setup or a wiring aspect such that the systems, the heating system, was able to function off of emergency power, but the thermostatic controls were not hooked up appropriately or properly to that emergency power system. That's my layperson's understanding of things. So it's been rectified.
Mm-hmm.
So if the building loses power again and it's been corrected, and we need to test it too under those conditions, then everything should work as it's supposed to.
Was there a cost to correcting it?
I don't know exactly the extent that was included as part of the scope of what was planned, so I have to get back to you on that. I'm not certain. That would fall under the purview of the building committee stuff.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Is there anybody else that wants to chat I know you've got an assortment of folks here. Does anybody else want to
Still
say anything?
I don't see anyone jumping up, so I don't.
I'm sorry?
Still have the tech.
I'm sorry.
The Cape Cod Tech folks are still.
Oh, yeah, I realize that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Glenn.
Thank you.
Thank you for all of the folks here that are here for the Nauset region.
Thank you, everybody.
Great. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Glenn. And everybody that's here for that presentation.
You can all stay if you want to.
We always offer and nobody ever accepts. Okay. Now, you are the.
You could, but you don't have to.
What's that?
So Mary,
Mary, you've got Cape Cod Tech. You're bringing up.
Yeah.
I wanted to introduce Erin Arcott. She's the formerly school business manager. Now, aren't you a assistant superintendent?
My title has not changed. I guess unfortunately, I'm the school business administrator, but I think what Mr. Bienvenu is trying to poke at is that yesterday I achieved I defended my doctoral dissertation.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
I am officially, as of, I guess,
I
last
think
night.
I think I'd be home having a glass of wine.
Well, I need to be here. I do have to tell you, though, I said Eastham is going to be so much easier tomorrow than that defense was yesterday. So I was actually looking forward to this.
So Dr. Orcutt here is for her presentation. And,
And we shall call you Doctor.
Oh, please don't. Wonderful. Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Erin Orcutt. I have been lucky enough to serve as a school business administrator. I believe this is my 16th year, almost my 20th with the district. And I am delivering to you tonight our FY27 operating budget. So this budget, thank you, is developed through consultation of the Cape Cod Tech.
Excuse me, we never got any paperwork?
It's in the packet.
It's in the, I've got so many packets here. Oh,
It's at the very end.
oh, it's part of this. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Well, wait a minute, let me get rid of that and then I'll find it. That's not it. There it goes. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you. This FY27 budget has been developed in consultation with our finance subcommittee. Of course, we have a very large school committee of 24 members, 2 seats held by the town of Eastham, but we do a lot of our finance work again through the finance subcommittee. And that is chaired by our school committee chair, Mr. Tullio, and on that committee also is Dr. Mashu from Yarmouth and Mary Rose Grady from Mashpee. So with consultation with them and the superintendent and our treasurer, we developed the budget that I'm presenting to you tonight. I wanted to take a look at our current enrollment trends. As you can see, we increased by 22 students this fiscal year, moving from 681 to 703. Again, a 22 student increase. As you can see, Eastham was only an increase of 1, which is very helpful, as opposed to Yarmouth, who saw 31 students this year. That was a massive change for them. But for you, this really represents a small shift in enrollment.
How many students can fit in the school?
Technically, the school was built for 650 students, but that was at 85% capacity. So technically, I've been trying to figure this number out. We are pretty much full. We could probably add 5 to 6 more students, but we'd have to be very careful and intentional of where they were placed. Some shops are at complete capacity. Some academic areas are at complete capacity. So really, in order to fit these 1 or 2 more students in, we'd have to be very selective, and they would have to know they'd have to be older students, likely not freshmen, and they'd have to know that they're being placed in a specific shop. But right now, I would say we are at capacity at 703 students.
So would you consider increasing the student enrollment for the classes that more people are interested in versus the classes that maybe you don't have many people for? I mean, you're telling me that there are people that would like to be in classes that you can't have because you don't have the space for that one, but I'm just
It's
wondering.
a little bit more difficult to increase capacity in some of these shops just because of their square footages. There's also a lot of mandates through state as far as what the student to teacher ratio can be. And that's not the academic piece. That's actually your vocational area. So it's where we're between space in the building and teaching capacity, we're completely maxed out. And I think even if we could put students in these shops, we would have issues with accommodating their schedules on their academic side. Cape Cod Tech has a lot of things to a lot of students, and it's a very complex scheduling endeavor because we're trying to fit so much into that academic time that only happens on a 2-week cycle.
And how does it, I know there's a tech school you're talking about. There's also the tech school down closer to the bridge. Do some students from here end up there because they don't have the class that they want here, or how does that work?
No, actually, you have to be a resident of the sending towns in order to go to that.
Oh,
school.
oh,
So
oh, oh.
Upper Cape is, it's the town of Falmouth, town of Sandwich, Bourne, Marion, and Wareham. It's very difficult for a student out of district to go to a tech school. There's a lot of exceptions that have to be made, and it's very expensive for that sending town to send their student there. So that doesn't often happen.
Thank you.
Again, looking at the 27 enrollment, this is really just a graphic representation of the numbers that I just showed you. Easily, right off the bat, you can see that Yarmouth and Barnstable together make well over 50% of our sending students, with the town of Eastham being 3.8% of our overall enrollment for FY27.
Aaron, does something that happened like in Yarmouth when you do enrollments or placements, do you consider where they're coming from, or is that blind?
That's the question I was going to ask.
As far as applications,
Right.
yeah, it would be we would be taking somebody off of a waiting list technically. So at that given time in this year, it would be it could be a student from any town. I have to be honest with our new system. You may or may not be aware, the Massachusetts Department of Education made some really strong overhauling changes to admissions for technical high schools. This year, for the first time ever, we were forced into a lottery system. So rather than accepting students based on their application, their merit, their grades, their interview, we had to function just like some of these charter schools in that we had to hold a lottery. That lottery was actually held on Tuesday, the 17th. And it was actually 12 individual lotteries. Each town had their own lotteries because each town had an apportionment or a minimum number of seats that they were allowed.
That's what I was going to ask. So on the lottery,
Yeah.
it's not that, any one town will win the lottery, so to speak, and
No.
every town has an apportionment of minimum seats. And
Yeah, and I can't speak intimately about that apportionment, but I can tell you that it's going to be based each year on the number of applications we get from each town. So it's a proportionate share of, well, this many students applied. In this year, in fact, 13 students from the town of Eastham applied. And based on that application and the applications from the other town, 6 spots were dedicated to Eastham students. So of your 13 who applied, 6 were chosen from the lottery.
do you have any sense, does that tend to stabilize year to year enrollment or make it more variable?
I expect it to stabilize enrollment.
Mary Jerry's got a question.
Yeah, Jerry, you have a question?
Yeah, I think it's been pretty much answered. Now, will that, let me just go a little further on what we just talked about on the slots for each town. Will Eastham stay close to 6 for the years? And these were 6 would be 6 in the freshman class, and the others remain. Will that stay, or do you envision that? I know you've only done it 1 year. Will this change so that next year Eastham's number might be 5 or it might be 7 or something of that sort?
Yes, sir. I expect the latter of what you said. I think enrollment will stabilize. There will be some fluctuation, but in my expectation for a town of this size, it's going to be slight fluctuations, as in 1 or 2 or 3 seats movement. It really is dependent on the number of applications that we're getting from each town and the share as it's divided. We also, part of this new admissions lottery, we have a clause for community continuality in that our staff students are considered priority, as well as siblings of existing students. And those are practices that typically are existent at our charter schools. And we thought that was very important to continue the legacy of Cape Cod Tech and the students that go there. I'm not going to lie, we're not happy with this process. It's been tough. We fought it, but we lost. And so we are trying to move on and learning as we go. There were a lot of very, very unhappy people calling our school on Tuesday, which happens anyways. But I think that this really spoke to the people that value technical education feel as though that their voice wasn't heard at the state level as far as how we operate our schools.
Yeah.
So-
can
Go
I
ahead,
follow up
Jerry.
again? Looking at the total number of applications and Eastham received 6, how did you figure out that Eastham was 6? It was the percentage of applications in total from Eastham might have been, I'm just going to use round numbers, 10%, and therefore the number of slots going into their freshman class, Eastham would be allotted 10% because that's the number of applications total that came in at their percentages. Is that how that number 6 was arrived at?
I honestly, I do not want to mislead you. I'm not sure. It's a very complex process that really has lied between my principal and my superintendent. I'd be more than happy to have Dr. Sanborn explain it to you. I don't want to mislead you in any way. It's something that I really was not intimately involved with this year. But I will absolutely ask Dr. Sanborn to give you a much clearer explanation than what I've been able to provide for you.
Thank you. This is just to try and understand when people ask us and so forth. It's not a criticism of the school or whether you got to follow the law as it is, and we're just trying to understand it. But thank you very much.
Agreed. Wonderful.
Thank you.
And I have a further question about the 7 that didn't make it this year from Eastham. Can they apply again next year, or do you don't take people in the second year because the programs go from freshmen to sophomores, et cetera?
Typically not. We don't typically accept a lot of upperclassmen. 10th graders can reapply. The process for them, again, is a little bit different, and they end up in a shop that has the available room. They don't get the full exploratory experience that the other students get. That being said, because it's these 12 mini lotteries, of those 6 students who have guaranteed spots, if they choose not to take that spot gets freed up for another Eastham student. So if we got to the end of the road and we couldn't fill the seats, then they get reapportioned to the larger towns. But your seats are your seats as long as we can fill them.
Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to demonstrate to the towns. You can obviously see what's happened with our enrollment over the past 6 to 7 years. We were at our absolute low of 570 in FY19. And as you see, we are at capacity right now with 703 students. We accepted 190 students on Tuesday, but that was, I believe, out of a population of about 450 applications. So we're still trending very, very strongly. This is why, we're trying to do the most to maximize the space in the building. Of course, we had to build the building for the population that we had in hand, and you see that. But we're bursting at the seams now, which is a great thing. But it's sad that we have to limit the amount of students that can attend.
Aren't you looking at putting another building in another location?
Dr. Sanborn had been pursuing that. We do have an intermunicipal lease agreement with the town of Harwich for a parcel of land somewhat near the school. That was largely dependent on some grant funding to be able to build that facility. Unfortunately, the grant funding was cut at the state level, and we're really not seeing what we thought. So unfortunately, no, we don't think we can pursue that anymore. That was going to be an opportunity to hopefully free up 70, 80, 100 seats in the school if we could get them to off campus. But it's really not a reality. We've already asked you for a lot of money in building this new school. We knew we couldn't go back to say we want more, and these grant fundings just aren't coming to reality.
Can you remind us when did the new school come online?
The same year as COVID, 2020.
Right.
2020.
So the increase kind of correlates with
21.
the old school
2020.
shutting down, had the construction.
Absolutely.
The new school opening up.
Yep, absolutely.
So when you built the new school, how many? Well, obviously you got more people that are interested in being there than the school it will hold at the moment. So
Yeah.
it really was built too small.
It was
I don't know.
built too small, but at the time, we wouldn't have said that. And the
Yeah, yeah.
MSBA was very, very conservative. We had to fight to actually get the 650. I think they wanted us at 625. But as you can see, when we were really going for the building, designing the building, we were in the 500s. So to get to 650, I don't think we expected to see the capacity that we've grown to at this point.
So you're surprised that the number of students you've got looking for a space.
We're getting used to this new adjustment. I mean, we were having some hard times, as you can see, in the late, I would say FY 18, FY 19. We were struggling to get exposure. We were struggling to get kids in the door, and that went away and completely reversed itself. I'm not sure if it's the value of technical education. I don't know if it's the attractiveness of a new school or a combination of all of the above. But we have a lot of demand.
It's a great thing.
It's beautiful, but you also feel terrible for the students
that
who
don't
want the
get accepted.
opportunity
Yeah.
that don't. It definitely speaks to a state issue of lack of capacity for the demand that's there. So again, I wanted to show you our student enrollment trend. This is very much like the graph that I just showed you before. As you can see in FY21, we were at a low of 616. And again, today we are at 703. And you can see in Eastham, your numbers are relatively stable, fluctuating between the low 20s and the high 20s. So I would expect this trend to continue.
How many students apply of all the students that applied? How many students applied that weren't accepted total?
Doing the math in my head, I would say about 300 and
You said this earlier, 400?
we had about 450
right.
applications.
Remember
We
you saying
accepted
that.
190.
And you accepted what you said.
190.
190.
So that
260.
Yep.
260 students were interested in a position, in a slot
That they
that
couldn't
didn't get accepted.
Yeah.
And
we were picking those students out of ping pong balls out of a lottery.
That's a lot of students.
It is. It's yeah.
Excuse me?
It's half a school. Yeah. It just speaks to, I think, the value. And I have to say, I don't know if this is true statewide, but the Cape values technical education. You truly support and value our students. And that shows. And that absolutely shows.
Have you done studies to outsource programs to other high schools that has capacity?
No, I don't think we would be willing to, we've tried to partner with the community colleges. We've tried to partner with various places, but, I think feasibility wise, we're not looking to expand to any other campuses. I think some of our town or sending schools we don't have, I would say, that symbiotic relationship, if that makes sense. It's not adversarial, but those are your students, these are our students. But we're constantly looking for ways to free up space and expand capacity if we can. The budget that I'm presenting to you today for FY27 is 4.51%. That is an increase of $833,000 over the FY26 budget. As you can see, we did a great job for many, many years of trying to keep our budget under 3%, under 2%. But these past few years, various cost drivers have really made that virtually impossible. So this is our tight and neat budget of 4.5% increase. So I wanted to talk to you about where the money to fund the budget comes from. Town assessments are a majority of the source, over 80% of the revenue for funding the school. And this year, the assessments will be $14,912,000. We add to that our state aid, and we have two sources of state aid. The first is Chapter 70, which is our educational aid. The second is Chapter 71, which is the reimbursement, the transportation reimbursement. So those together make up about 4.2% of our budget, leaving a very small sum of local revenue of $120,000. This is largely comprised of local revenue I'm able to generate through positive interest on our bank accounts, as well as facility rental fees. We try to rent the facilities as much as possible. Dr. Sanborn certainly agrees that this is a community resource, and so we host a lot of different organizations, a lot of committee meetings, and so we do try to use that as a revenue source. As you can see, the revenue sources have stayed quite balanced over the past few years. Of course, state aid is not catching up as much as the assessments are, and local revenue. I definitely want to draw your attention to this because you obviously see a decline in that local revenue over the years. What that local revenue at that point largely represented was the district's ability to dedicate excess and deficiency towards the budget as a revenue source to offset your assessments. For years, we were very aggressive. We took as much as we could from that excess and deficiency and tried to give it back to the towns as a revenue source. In doing that, we caught ourselves in a position where we got excess and deficiency. We drove it down too low to sustain this. We got used to being able to return money for numerous reasons. The most significant being that during the building project, our former treasurer had invested, because we had the opportunity to. He invested about $30 million of those bond proceeds in waiting to spend them. In doing that, we were able to positively generate over $2.4 million in interest revenue. So we returned, obviously, all of that to the towns, and that had inflated our excess and deficiency quite a bit for a number of years. But here we are, the project's closed out, and we are at a point we are starting to build back our excess and deficiency. So it is no longer, at this point, a revenue source of the budget.
What exactly does each town pay for each child?
So that number varies because it is dependent on that town's ability to meet minimum local contribution. So when our assessments are developed, the first number we get is from the Department of Education that tells us, based on the number of students from each town, this is what that town can afford to pay. And so that information is slightly different in each town. So it is not a flat number across the board, but typically the per pupil cost is running about $20,000 to $21,000, dependent on the town. This quickly just is showing you the revenue source versus our operating budget. The blue line you see is our operating budget, with the state aid being that red line that you see, assessments being the green, and local revenue is barely visible, but there. And again, this is really just to show you, know that we appreciate that your assessments from the member towns are, quite frankly, largely funding the budget. And because of that, we try to be as conservative as we possibly can. But the number that I'm bringing before you is certainly what our needs are.
Aaron, just
Yes.
an aside, we can talk offline throughout the course of the year, but we would be interested in talking to you in the district about using E&D, since you're no longer using it for the operating, perhaps a plan that funds the capital, which minimizes capital assessments, but also gives you funds availability as you need them, as opposed to specific projects. So.
Yes. It would be a great conversation. You're absolutely right. And where we are now, we're trying to build back up our reserves to ensure proper cash flow. But then I think once we get back to a comfortable number, we certainly will begin that process rather than using it as a revenue source. So again, this FY27 budget by category, quickly showing you where the money comes from, or where the money's going, actually. As you can see, salaries drive the largest portion of the budget. And I wanted to demonstrate for you the change in each one of those categories. Again, salaries did overall decreased by 1.2%, although we did have a 3.25% COLA. We were able to capture some savings in retirements and staffing changes. We had a slight increase in benefits, materials, and services. Transportation, I was able to basically just shave a little bit of money off of that. Wanting to talk about transportation, we are actually, this budget represents the second year of a 5-year contract with our incumbent transportation provider, which is Mercedes Cab Company, doing business as Cape Destinations. You may or may not be aware, but this first year of our bid, we're actually taking advantage of some grant sources that were awarded to our vendor. We are in the process of moving to a mostly EV bus fleet. Our contractor received upwards of $5.7 million, which largely from the CEC, which gave them the ability to purchase 10 EV buses. I structured that bid knowing that those buses would not come online right away. And so for that first year, I structured it so that we would have a full complement of diesel buses to back up these EV buses. And that was a good plan because manufacturer delays delayed the buses getting to us. Between that and a solar project that we're implementing at the Tech, we are building a solar canopy over our bus parking lot. We are hoping those two projects, of course, one will offset some utility costs and the other helped us to drive down our transportation costs. The buses won't be used on every route. Obviously, I would say our Mashpee route and our Provincetown route will be too far really to use those batteries and then be able to turn around and charge them and send them back out. So those routes will probably always have a diesel bus, as well as routes that are off Cape or runs that are off Cape. But we do hope in the next month or two to be able to launch this fleet of EV buses.
Do most people come by bus or do they drive?
I would say a large percentage comes by bus because of the geographical location, but we do have a lot of drivers who leave campus to attend work. Because, of course, if you are in your latter part of your junior year and your senior year and you have appropriate grades in your shop, rather than being in your shop, you do have the opportunity to gain employment and you work for those 2 weeks. You work, you get paid, and instead of coming to school, you're being graded by your employer. So it really is a mix of transportation. We have a lot of students that have cars, but because they live in Mashpee, they choose to take a bus, which is a very smart and economical thing to do for a student. So it really is a mixture between the two. We run 11 bus routes currently. I believe you had a question.
When did collective bargaining agreements get renegotiated, and what are the current? I know you have the COLA. What are the typical step increase?
We will be starting to negotiate again in FY27 for the next 3 years. FY27 is the last year of our agreement. As I stated before, I believe it was 3.25% this year. So did I answer your question?
That's a COLA. Are there also typical step increases?
There are step increases. I couldn't speak to the percentage of what those are. So again, these are some of the drivers that are making up our overall budget. Another very similar chart just showing you where the money comes from. Again, teacher salaries being 34% of the budget. Retirement continuing to increase. That retirement, that's the Barnstable County retirement assessment. Insurance benefits, that is increasing. Our building insurance is becoming, each renewal keeps increasing quite a bit, I'm sure, as you experience on your
own
house. They don't like the Cape, and it just gets more and more expensive each year to insure the building. Support services, that's our special education funding, what it takes to educate our students. Again, all culminating in this $19,300,000 budget proposal. This is the same kind of breakout, but it's showing you in numerically what's making up our budget. Something that I keep bringing to folks' attention, and I know it's not lost on you because you also have the Nauset region, but retiree benefits are becoming a large cost driver of our budget. I have more retirees on insurance plans than I do active. I think I have 170 lives insured through retirees plans. So between that $800,000 line item in the budget for their insurance and our OPEB contribution, roughly 10% of our budget is going for our retirees, which we very much value their service. We appreciate everything that they did in their years of service, but it's very difficult to balance a budget and know that you're spending 10% of it on an expense that's not in front of the children at the moment. It is the cost of doing business, but it really is becoming a significant cost driver in the budget.
Do you have special ed students at your?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
You do?
Yep. They're certainly not going to be of the severity or the need that you see in the Nauset district. We tend not to have a lot of medically fragile, but we do have a significant population. I believe 20% of our students are on IEPs.
IEP.
All those services for the tech, and correct me if I'm wrong, are provided in-house at the tech as opposed to what you
Correct.
see at the elementary school and the middle school and high school. Is what's really driving those is anytime we have to send somebody out of the system to Riverview, Cape Cod Collaborative, or some other private placement. So it's those out-of-district placements that are really driving
Expensive.
costs. So
Yeah.
the tech has it, but just not the severity of.
Yeah, yeah. The students you have aren't being sent out there.
No.
Yeah, right.
Jerry has a question.
Yeah. Let me make sure I'm not unmuted.
Jerry?
Yes, I do have just one question. Looking back at retiree health benefits, retirees required to sign up for Medicare Part A, B, and D.
Retirees are required at the age of 65 if they are Medicare eligible, and we have a small population who are not Medicare eligible. They sign up for Medicare Parts A and B. We do not have them sign up for D because as part of the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group, we offer retiree, their medics plans through Blue Cross Blue Shield or Harvard Pilgrim, which are kind of like your wraparound supplemental plans. So,
Right.
so typically, but yes, at 65, we are all of our retirees, if they're Medicare eligible, transition onto Medicare.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh. Roy?
Yes. I have a question.
Roy?
Yes. I have a question with respect to criteria for admission. How is that determined?
It's a lottery now.
It's available on the website.
Yeah, it's a lottery now. The criteria is you apply. I think you get a slight bump if you tour the school. It really, unless you have egregious, unless you've been convicted of basically going after somebody in a school.
Right.
That's the only thing that's going to exclude you. You can have 30 absences. You can have suspensions. Really, it's a blind lottery process now. So we're expecting a shift in our demographics. We're expecting the possibility of students taking seats and then leaving if they can't keep up with the work. This next year is definitely going to be a learning experience for all of us as far as the shifts that this new procedure is going to cause.
Just a follow-up question. If I had an interest in electronic vehicles, and if I had experience in it, would that make a difference in terms of admitting me?
No, it's a completely blind admission. So we do not survey their interests. We don't know if there's special education or if they have language barrier issues. They're just literally a number now in this new process.
And that was put in place because
the Department of Ed made that change because they found that there was a handful of schools in the state that had discriminatory practices that were excluding students with disabilities or students some backgrounds. So this was the state's effort to level the playing field. However, I'm not sure that it actually accomplished that because there's just such it's more of an access issue in the capacity than it is an access issue as far as what students are getting in. And I can't speak to other schools, but we have never maintained those discriminatory practices. So it was kind of a wide sweeping change for all of us. And again, it's definitely, it's a change in the way we've ever done business before.
It's a broad brush fix to something that is specific to certain areas. And unfortunately, this is what happens, and there'll be unintended consequences that will need to be fixed.
Absolutely.
And it will affect you guys in unfortunate ways. And the best thing to do is just track it all.
Yep. Yep. You want all students who want to access to this education to be able to get it. But you certainly, I personally, I think about those students who have missed 35 days of their 8th grade year, and now they're going to go into a plumbing shop. And so we're going to expect them to come out as skilled as they need to be when they don't have great attendance. So, that's just an anecdotal aside of, what happens when you take some of those factors off the table. Moving to our capital debt, as you can see, FY27 recognizes, I believe we are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years into our 20-year fixed principal declining interest bond. This year's total bond payment will be $5,384,325. And that's a total payment. Now, how that breaks down for Eastham is $206,795. This number I can typically provide to you very, very quickly because this is purely enrollment. This doesn't have to depend on the governor's numbers or anything. So typically when I get that 10-1 number, that October 1st number, it gets certified in the next few weeks. Typically by November 1st, I can provide your town administrator and finance director with what your assessment is for capital. Unfortunately, it's the school operating assessment that gets a little bit more delayed. And in this year, Eastham's representing your population of students is $589,441. So together that calls for a total appropriation, capital and operating for your 27 students of $796,236 for FY27. What I want to close on, and I apologize that the bottom of the slide is cut off, is our continued efforts towards towards funding OPEB or other post-employment benefits. For the past 10 years, Tech has been a part of the Plymouth County OPEB Trust, which I'm grateful to serve as a investment committee member on, where we are getting phenomenal returns on our contributions. Our accrued liability as of the end of FY25 was $20,988,000. At that same timing, June 30th, our balance was $3,566,992 in that OPEB account. It is actually my latest statement I got now. We're closer to, we're just under 4 million. We're getting phenomenal returns. I'm sure that won't continue, but the point I want to make is we are 18% funded of liability, funding to liability. So we continue to try to contribute money towards that. And in the FY27 budget that you have in front of you, there's a $225,000 earmark to dedicate to OPEB. And that is the end of my prepared presentation.
And it looks like I just did some quick math. Each student roughly 29,490.
When you added the capital, yes, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, and it looks like I just did the math real quick with a few other, I did the math with a couple of other towns, and it's the same across the board. So
I did in my one of the things that I provide to you is a complete assessment calculation, and if you look at that assessment calculation, that exact figure it does not include the capital debt assessment, but that figure is the one of the last columns on that line item budget.
there we have it.
And that's Cape Cod Tech.
That's what.
Doctor.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
I love reading all the class types you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so cool to
Yeah.
see everything you offer.
15
Why people want to be, why kids want to be there.
15 different shop areas. And it's so great to some of our kids, dental assistant. Can you ever imagine being trained as in a high school as a dental assistant? Some of these students are coming out and making $26 an hour, or they're not even out of high school yet.
Say probably high school graduation, they're plucking the kids
Absolutely.
right off their chairs to hire them.
I asked one of our culinary students if I could hire him, and he said, "You're not going to pay me as much as Cape Cod Healthcare. I'm going to make $24 an hour, and you're going to pay me 17." It's
They do
it's
great. Yeah, they
amazing.
do great. What is 21st century skills?
Really, that is just it's a hodgepodge of. There are a lot of skills within each technical area. They're soft skills that they don't have the time to teach within the shop. So it's easier to have a teacher. It's almost like a business teacher who's teaching you a lot of those soft skills, the interviewing, the resume preparation. So these students are getting that, and then they're getting a lot of financial literacy.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
So
important. and they
it's
don't
a bit
skip.
how to do a business plan.
Absolutely. How to invest, how to
Balance your checkbook or
yeah,
just little.
our students participate, and I think Nauset's do too. And it's called a Credit for Life Fair. So Cape Cod 5 Bank comes in and they work with the kids, and depending on the kids' vocational area and what they want to do, Cape Cod 5 comes up with a number and says, okay, well, your salary based on that is going to be $78,000 a year. And then what they do is they have them rotate between stations where they have to find accommodations. They have to find a car. Do they lease? Do they buy? And basically it's teaching them how to make smart choices, because if they get to that last table and they have no money for health insurance, now they have to go back and say, I guess I shouldn't have taken that cruise or got the season tickets. And that's really what they teach them. It's so fun.
Kids need like a class and basic life.
Financial literacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of everything.
It's like our parents, would sit us down and teach us how to do that. And
That's lost.
I'm not sure. It's a lost art.
Our students can't write addresses on envelopes. They don't understand how checkbooks work or the U.S. postal system. It's just, it's a change in
pretty bad.
generations. I know.
It's great.
Yeah.
Patty, I want to let you know, you talked about the programs. We've taken advantage in the admin and operations budget for the town. You might recall, I think it's $20,000 that we carry in the budget for interns. And for the last 5 years, I think at least the last 5 years, some years we've had two. This year we've got one who's an Eastham resident, who's a tech student, and he does his 2 weeks at academics and comes here for 2 weeks and works, and we pay him $20 an hour to work in the IT shop.
I guess I have to start paying more.
Or eating less.
Another piece of it is how many times have we seen people, I'm looking for a plumber, I'm looking for, an electrician.
We need Angie's list.
Yeah. And isn't that a
No,
phenomenal
don't.
thing that our kids are getting to apply those skills that they're learning before they've even graduated, and they're becoming contributing members to society and to their families sometimes.
It's really great.
It is. It's awesome.
And do you feel that as a result of the demographics on Cape Cod, the types of work that your students are doing is work that's needed by the demographics? It's
1,000,000%.
Of course.
Absolutely. And I think that's why Cape Cod values technical education so much, is because they see that. And I think that we're slowly seeing that college is not for everybody, and at the price of college and the loans that our students have to take out, college is not for everyone, and college can be an option, but it doesn't have to be for everyone. So I applaud the towns and your support, because it really is overwhelming how much you care for our students.
It's great. Thank you. This is really good.
Yep. Any questions from the folks that are on Zoom?
Stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
I will get out of your hair.
Okay.
Thank you very much for having
Thank
me.
you very much. Yeah, and congratulations. And now you can
I
go
didn't
home
mean
and
to
have
make this about
a
me.
glass of wine.
Yes, ma'am. Is that an order?
Yeah, it's an order.
Thank you.
Financial order.
Or you can have a Borg. I'm still stuck on the board.
What are they? I don't even know what they are.
Borgs, the blackout rage gallons that they drink in Southie on St. Patrick.
Oh.
1% alcohol with flavor in it.
Well, it also has Gatorade and stuff that will make you energized and
Crazy.
wide awake drunk. So it's
Wide
just.
awake drunk.
Old, that stuff.
Thanks so much.
Bye, ladies.
Thank you very much. Is there a yellow, excuse me, is there a yellow pad somewhere over there that I asked everybody to sign on? Oh, I wasn't sure where it went. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Are you taking attendance?
I was taking attendance. I wanted the names of the people that were out there.
It's cool. Like it.
Yeah. Okay. What time? Let me see.
Well, Mary, if I might, on the budget update, let me just pull this all together.
Mhm.
Now that we got all the final numbers, what does this look like? You sent out to you today. I just sharing on the screen so everybody can see it. I was able to finalize the educational services budget section. So probably tomorrow I will be including this into our final budget book. So we've had on the website, and you got back in January a draft budget book. So this final budget book will be posted on the website with all the final numbers representing everything that's in the Finance Committee report and everything that's going to be on my presentation for the budget hearing. And this is the summary of everything. 5,293,000, I think it says, for the elementary school, 8,274,000 for Nauset, and 796 for the tech. What I wanted to tell you about the 8,274,000 for Nauset is because of the changes that they made with their enrollment numbers from October 1, or their initial drafts till now, the operating assessment went down about $200,000. So that comes off the $660,000 override and now becomes a $460,000 override.
But isn't there a lot of discussion on whether you're allowed to do that? I mean, the agreement doesn't allow, I shouldn't say it doesn't allow. It's my understanding that the agreement says that the enrollment is as of 10/1.
They use the 10/1 numbers, so I'm not sure. Maybe they amended their 10/1 numbers, I think might be the case. But in any event, the school committee voted it and it's an assessment. And so once they vote, an assessment is what we get. If somebody wants to contest that, they can contest that, but that'll be on them to do that.
Well, because it's affecting three of the four
Right.
towns. So aren't they going to scream and yell?
I think they've had some of these discussions. So,
Mhm.
but the difference being, and part of that discussion was, that's why you see a different percentage on the operating assessment versus the capital assessment. So although the operating assessment went down 200,000 and reduced the amount of override, our debt assessment went up. And I don't have the exact number, but I want to say, for sake of argument, say 170,000. So we have a net savings, but we don't need an override on the debt assessment because it's excluded debt. So it just kind of gets added to the levy. So even though the amount of the override goes down 200,000, the difference between the 472 that we've been talking about only went down to 465. So I just wanted to explain that
Very small.
dynamic to everybody.
So you're putting together all the stuff that we've just been talking about, plus everything else that we haven't talked about, well, that we've talked about before, to come up with what we think will be an override figure. Is that what you're?
Right. Well, I know what it is. It's just 200,000 less than what we've been talking about. I'll show you in a second. But before I get there, I just want to show you also that I sent to you today, which will be in the final budget book and will be in the packet for the budget hearing, is this Article 2A. So at the moment, this is everything we've discussed, with changes made along the way as applicable. And you can see here the numbers for the schools are now finalized. And because of the decrease in the operating assessment, but increase in the debt assessment, and I just realized I got to change this bottom section here for school debt service now, but it won't change the totals. It's still roughly a 3% increase total for everything. And then finally, before you move off, Mary, I have what I sent out this afternoon was a draft of the Finance Committee report, edited for changes made, but you'll also notice that I changed this number here. It used to be 472, is now the 465. And I changed
Oh, okay.
this number paragraph here. Regional school district assessments now says 460. And then I changed a little chart down here
The tax impact, oh, no.
where it says 88 instead of 95. The 465. So that's so the budget's been pulled together. I'm going to prepare tomorrow with final presentation for the budget hearing, and we'll go from there.
So, the letter for the warrant from the finance committee, well, that's going to need to be, should need to be changed with what we've just been talking about.
I already changed it. That's what I just showed you.
Oh, yeah, no, I know you showed me, but I mean, will you be sending something out or?
I did.
Oh, you've sent it out, okay.
It's.
Okay, okay.
Hey, Rich. The thing you sent out, I know you and I've been swapping drafts, changes and all that. You had, did you get everything in?
Yes, I got your last changes you sent me in. Yep.
Bless you.
He's the best.
So anything that changed, Paul, from what you sent me is the numbers that changed, the 660 to 460 and the.
Right. I saw that. I just want to check on the wording. Thanks.
Yep.
So I've received it. I can make a copy when I get home.
Yep. And I have a copy right here for you.
Oh, okay, thank you. I don't know if you have any more. Does anybody want?
We all got copies. We had.
Yeah, okay. I've not been home all day, so
I mean, Rich passed them out.
No, I didn't get this. Yeah.
So, Mary, at the risk of making your life harder, let me raise. Notice how I preface this. What Rich did is great. Rich did 97% of the work on this. Yay him. If you guys go through the letter and there's wording that you want or whatever, Mary, I'll raise this. I'm happy to take another pass at it and send a red line version for next meeting, or I'm happy to say, hey, we're done and let's move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think everybody should go look through it and give their comments to you and to Rich. Again, don't copy everybody in, and we'll end up reviewing it and then approving it at our next meeting. That's what I'd like to do. Does that make sense?
Would there be a?
Yeah, it's fine with me. Let me just play traffic cop. If everybody could get me their comments no later than Tuesday morning, that would be so helpful that I can get a red line version out and I can get it to Rich on Tuesday. And then I'll give you what I did last year, what it would look like with everybody's changes on top and the red line version of what Rich just handed out on the bottom.
Would it be helpful if we even had it to you by Monday? Because getting it to Rich.
It would be helpful if you had it tonight by 8:00. But
so let's all shoot by Friday by 5.
Well, people have lives, I'm told. So yeah,
it's good that people have lives.
I'm thinking that Rich has a life, and you giving him the final changes on Tuesday at the end of the day gives him Wednesday to do his thing. And
Kate, earlier is if you want to send a deadline to me by Monday, that's fine. If you want to say Sunday night, that's fine. You guys decide.
Jerry, you have your hand up?
Yeah, let me make sure I'm not muted. No, I'm not.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, this is just for Kate. Kate, you can put Catherine on the letter if you want, whatever, your choice. So you can go by Kate or you can go by the full legal name, Catherine, on all the stuff from the Finance Committee. Your choice.
Okay, thank you.
Mary, I did have a couple of suggestions on the letter that might help because I think we're pretty well vetted on the budget piece of this letter with maybe some final changes. But where Paul and I were unsure is a position the Finance Committee might want to take on 2D, which is the potential service enhancements. And maybe this is a further discussion for Monday. At the select board, they had the discussion of, do they want to recommend these or perhaps abstain and leave it purely up to the town meeting and the town to take the position of how they feel about it? So that's 2D. And then 4A is other budget appropriations. I don't know if anybody has any issue or question on those, but I just want to make sure before we finalize the letter that basically it's largely the reserves and a couple of one-off items that are typical. And I'm anticipating that you might want to comment on 4B and 4C together, which is the WIF and the CPA reduction.
Okay.
So would you like to see something on each of those? And is there a sense of the committee on how we should start to draft that?
2D. I mean, I think we're all in favor that they should go to the town and let them make some decisions. But the question is, are weighing in on it?
That's kind of what I'm asking. Right?
Okay.
And we can maybe decide this on Monday when you're with the select board, because I think they're weighing a similar, contemplating a similar approach.
Okay.
Not to speak for Jerry, but.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then for those, for the, was that 2D? Are you gonna do that same table like you did? The budget component and then what the tax impact will be?
I could put that in the letter.
I think people will want to see that.
Yeah,
too.
I'll add that.
That's really
So I have a paragraph there now. I can add the table with the items and
Just
the
yeah.
impact.
good idea.
What I like about those items is we see some of the larger items that we really don't have a choice on the budget. That's really to keep the lights on, I guess is the saying. But I think if we're giving the people a choice on those, we want them to think about it. They're smaller. It's a smaller dollar amount, smaller impact to their taxes. And it's something like the Council on Aging. They're, the programs that they use, it's things they use that they like, that they want to see, and they can decide on it and visually see what it's going to cost them at the same time.
And is there a sense of the committee on 4A or 4B and 4C, which is a 1.25% surcharge added for the Water Investment Infrastructure Fund, coming off of the 3% CPA to make that a 1.75. So still the same total 3%. Just we're kind of reprioritizing some of that 3% for wastewater as opposed to what the opposition to this would be is at the expense of perhaps open space and housing and a foregone of about 140,000 in state match.
We didn't vote on that yet, right? Or did we?
No.
This week?
We haven't
No.
voted on it.
No,
And
discussed it.
I mean,
do you want a motion now to?
or
We
you
welcome a motion or a motion on Monday. I think the select board, Jerry, did the select board vote recommends on these two? I think you might have.
Yeah, yes, I think we did vote, unanimously voted yes on those, on 4B
All the
and
four
4C. Well, no,
I
except
can
for
see.
4D. We'll have a vote on 4D on Monday.
2D.
2D, I mean, excuse me, 2D, sorry. Sorry, my error.
All the fours the select board's already voted to recommend.
For A, B, C, and D, that you voted on unanimously in favor of then?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
4A was 5-0,
B?
I'm sorry, 4A.
All-
4A was 5-0, 4B was 5-0, 4C was 5-0, and 4D was 5-0 by the select board.
We're missing two members. Should we vote
We're-
or
we're-
wait till Monday? We're missing
Peter and Fred.
and Fred.
Fred's up there.
Oh, Fred's up there. We just can't see him or hear.
He's up there? Oh, I didn't see him up there. Oh, has he been up there the whole time?
Yeah, they're showing us. He's been in the meeting. He's just,
Oh,
I
I
can't
can,
see him or he's.
I see his name now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's,
I didn't know that he was, what was he, has he been there the whole
He's-
time?
yeah.
He-
Okay.
But if we're gonna vote, we're gonna need to know what Fred is voting on.
I have a feeling you might have computer difficulties. It looks like an odd icon to me. I
Yeah,
don't-
me too. So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe he's out for dinner and just has his computer on.
So,
Rich, without that 1.25% in 2008, that would be an added cost to the taxpayers at that point if it wasn't passed now and coming out of the CPA in the future.
I don't know if it's two, it might be 29 when the debt service starts, but
29?
in some point in the future.
Okay.
So the way it would work is we wouldn't have that 600,000 to fund the debt service, so it is exempt debt. So we're going to raise that extra 600,000 in property taxes. And so this is one of the things we're doing. We hear all the time, what are you doing to limit taxes? And it's like, well, we didn't add things, and some people, well, you need to cut things. Well, this is one of those things we're doing over our long-term financial planning to provide for stability on a multi-year basis. So, I think we've been recommending this for years. I don't think I've heard any opposition from the finance committee, but I wouldn't want to write something up, if somebody's changed their mind since then after hearing the housing or the open space folks, that's all.
So are you guys okay to vote on these tonight?
Or do we want to wait for the two others, Peter and?
No, I think
Okay.
we're okay to vote tonight. Unless Mary Jo.
Let me see, we've got, well, Fred is not available. I mean, he's up there, but I don't think he's muted or what have you. And Peter is not here either. I don't know, what are people's thoughts?
I say let's just move forward. There's 7 of us. It's a quorum.
Oh, there's no problem with a quorum.
Make a motion, Mayor.
Okay.
Jake.
So
Rich,
so
can you frame the motion, please?
Sure. The motion would be, and you could do them one at a time if you'd like.
I would do them one at a time.
Okay, so for 4A, if we're focusing on the fours, the motion would be to recommend Article 4A.
so moved.
So that's Kate,
Ron's.
that's Ron. Any further discussion on Article 4A, which is the approve and fund other budget appropriations? All in favor of 4A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Paul and Roy, that's 7-0.
And then 4B would
4B.
again be the same motion.
Let me just move it.
You're the one, Kate.
Let me see.
Yep. Okay.
You're the mover.
I'll move 4B. as
Recommend.
presented.
I'm sorry, what? Oh, you're, okay. 4B is Kate and Ron again? Excuse me. And this is the adopt municipal water
WIF, yeah.
what infrastructure investment fund. Any further discussion on 4B? Whoops. All in favor of 4B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Paul and Roy, 7-0.
Hey, Patty, do see.
Let me write that down. And 4C is reduce Community Preservation Act CPA surcharge rate. That's 4C. Do I have a motion to approve 4C?
Motion to approve.
That's Patty.
It's a motion to recommend.
Motion to recommend.
And
I'll second it.
that's, okay, Kate. Any further discussion on 4C about recommending to reduce the Community Preservation Act surcharge rate? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Paul and Roy, 7-0. See, let me write that. I'm keeping track here. Finance Committee, 7-0. And last is 4D, Adopt Water Resource Enterprise Fund. Recommend to adopt for Water Resource Enterprise Fund.
Ron.
Ron, do you like to raise your hand? Ron and Patty? Any further discussion on 4D? All in favor of 4D? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Roy and Paul, 7-0.
And Marianne, 4E, which is really a placeholder, what I'd suggest is that you just
Wait a minute.
put in the warrant to
7-0.
defer recommendation to town meeting,
Oh, that's it. That's if we don't get the money.
right? Because we don't know there's no amount
No, what's
associated.
gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We're hoping we don't need this. Right?
Correct.
And in terms of just these votes, when it shows up, we have 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Are the absences abstentions or are
No,
they
just shows
not-
as 7-0.
Just shows 7-0. Okay, I just, for clarification,
Yeah.
I don't have my Robert's Rules of Order with me.
So, do we have a motion to recommend approval of Article 4E,
No,
right?
you don't need a motion. Again, there's no amount associated with it.
Yeah,
So my suggestion is to just defer recommendation to town meeting. That's what I'll read in the article.
defer. So we're voting on to defer. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know that you need to
vote at
defer,
all.
but
Vote, I don't think.
No,
No.
he'll just say defer to town meeting.
Oh, okay.
Gary, did you
Right.
have?
Mary, we didn't vote on it at select board. We're just holding until
Yeah,
the town meeting, and then we'll say if we
Yeah.
need it,
right.
one of us will make the motion and we'll say, and the select board voted whatever the numbers are to recommend it. All right?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Fingers crossed we won't need it.
We'll just, by that time, we should know whether we need it or not, right, Rich?
Yep.
Yeah. What's the deadline for?
April 30th.
April 30th? Yeah,
Um,
okay.
is there anything else, Rich, that we need, that we can?
I think the others are, the 5s are relatively straightforward. You can either do them now or later, but maybe just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. Perhaps you might want to talk about 6A, which is the special legislation to expand the residential tax exemption to people who rent, property owners that rent year round.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure nobody had any question on what that means. It's not a negative to the town financially, because it just replaces, it shifts tax burden from resident to property owner in this case. They don't even need to be a resident to non-eligible. I guess the potential financial exposure would be if somebody didn't apply initially and then applied later on in the year, we might have to give them a rebate, but that would be pretty nominal.
Okay.
And I did attend the select board meeting where that was discussed, and I have down that there are about 150 properties that would be affected by it.
That's the amount of current year-round
Correct.
registered.
Right. Is there any further discussion on Article 6A? Do I have a motion to recommend Article 6A?
Motion to recommend Article.
Patty? Do I have a second for Article 6A? Paul? Is there further discussion on Article 6A? All in favor of Article 6A? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Paul and Roy, 7-0.
And since we're here, 6B isn't a petition because the select board agreed to put it on the warrant. But essentially was a petition article, and I think Jerry, if you was some division on the select board on that one. What was the vote on that?
Yeah, the vote was 1
4.
1 to recommend and 4 to say just not recommend.
Right.
I think the
I have
prevailing
1 to 4.
I think the prevailing sentiment was why adopt something that really isn't part of the why support something that really isn't the operation of the town and it's hard for the town to enforce.
Right.
And I don't know, I think that's the main point of it.
Yeah.
And it's, we can't ban things right now, which is why we're going for the special legislation. There's a statewide fix that has to happen. And this isn't, likely to be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was, so the other thing that was discussed, the select board was not only enforcement, but it covered, we all agreed with what it wants to do, but the distinction between organic and non-organic nitrogen, it makes no difference in the ponds. And so it does more than it thought, and we thought it was not written well. And that was, I think, part of at least my vote was that, although I think the entire select board agreed that we would love to reduce nitrogen, we just thought that this was not the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
So how
So I'm going to,
we make the motion to not accept?
we make a motion to recommend and then we vote against it.
Okay.
Yeah, vote for or against.
That's why you're sitting in the chairperson.
No, I'm not. So I'm going to make a motion to recommend Article 6B, authorize special legislation to prohibit the application of fertilizer in Eastham. So I'll be Mary. Do I have a second?
Second.
Patty? All in favor of Article 6B? All opposed? 07.
Towns have implemented this.
I don't think.
Nobody's implemented
I
it.
don't think anybody.
Orleans
has.
passed it, but it has to go through the special legislation.
Yeah.
So
No, the town can't approve it yet because it hasn't.
I think it's well intended, but I think
Yeah.
what happens is people start reporting each other and pointing fingers, and it's just
I
not.
agree. And the stores
Yeah.
can still sell it.
Yes, the stores can, this has nothing to do with
I
selling.
can sell it and put it in a plastic bag
Right,
and
so
send
it's
it
like
home
you
with
could
people.
buy it and drive to another town with it. It just,
It's like the fireworks,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not legal here, but people bring them in from everywhere.
I'm gonna stop being pushy and leave it up to Mary and the rest of you if you want to think about fives.
I'm sorry, article? Or did you?
So it's getting late, Mary,
Oh.
because I didn't want to push my luck, but I'm
Uh-oh.
happy to talk about anything in Article 5 if anybody wants to move, or you can move forward towards adjournment.
What time is it?
It's almost 6:30.
6:30. I can read my watch today. Like the last two times, the last two meetings I've been at, I've been off by an hour.
With respect to Rich,
You see, I'm looking at the wrong one, Article 4A. Oh, Article 5A is veterans. And then
I know I watched the select board, so I heard their discussion. So it's just a matter of, are
Term
you ready
for
to vote? on it?
certificate.
They
I
were
was
fairly
gonna watch
simple.
the select board this weekend before our Monday
Yeah.
meeting when I thought we were gonna.
what are people's thoughts on Article 5?
We'll have to Monday then.
I'm sorry?
Can we wait till Monday?
You can do whatever you
Or
want.
even next Thursday, because it's not financial. We're meeting next Thursday too, right?
Yes, we have these joint budget meeting on Monday afternoon with the select board, and that's going to be at 5:30 on the 23rd. And then we have our own meeting on the 26th,
To vote on everything
which
else.
will be, yeah, right.
Because I'd like to also watch the planning board meeting from last night posted to YouTube
Mhm.
on all the zoning. I want to watch that
Yeah,
again.
And selfishly, I really wanted to watch the select board meeting, and I haven't had a chance to yet.
Mm.
And evidently, they've already voted on 5.
Yes, they have. I
They
have,
had really good discussion,
I have the votes here. Yeah,
even on the fertilizer. They had really good discussion.
Yeah, okay.
yeah. Okay, so we're leaving that for the 20, probably the 26th.
Yeah, next week.
And we're going to have full discussions on Article 8, the zoning, on the 23rd. And it depends on, it's an open hearing, and then it's done. You can stay. We can keep finance can stay without adjourning and can have all of us gaggle about the zoning, and then each group can vote on that, whatever you want to do. But the hope is the select board hopes to vote Monday and complete its job so we don't have to have a meeting on March 30th. But that's always open in case we need it. But the select board hope and the push will be to go through all the remaining articles that we haven't put any recommendation on and finish that on that day. And you are, as a finance committee, are invited to join us and do your own if you want to, or you can push it off to your Thursday meeting. It's your call.
You can say you have a,
We want pizza.
you have a,
You want pizza. Have to talk to the finance director on that one.
Bring in dinner.
out of, what, don't we have $5,000 that's available for things like that?
I'll bring you pizza out of my pocket.
Oh,
The cash
no,
will come
no,
out of my
no.
pocket, not the pizza.
Sangria.
Okay, folks. So we do have the joint meeting next Monday, the 23rd at 5:30.
Yep.
Here, with the select board.
Yep.
And we will have another finance committee meeting the following Thursday, the 26th at 4 o'clock here. Let me see. Is there any, and we've talked about the finance committee report, that was item number 6. New business, is there any new business that anybody has?
No.
Old business, I guess I have one question on the old business, the capital project committee. Do we know the status of the wastewater permits? How are things going?
Nope.
No, what's it? We've got to know by,
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah,
We've got
yeah.
a meeting coming up with DEP Monday,
okay.
and they're on notice and they know, and they're going to know more on Monday, and we're going to get some feedback from them. But at the moment, it's same as it's been. Still on track.
I mentioned the school efficiency and regionalization study when we were talking about the school budgets, and it's down to the 4 to 5 options, and I think Glenn said they hope to get something by did you say by June? I
Yep.
think he said by June when I asked, so that will be interesting. I don't have any update on the agreement, Jerry? No update? Jerry? Jerry,
You're on mute.
Jerry, I'm asking.
There's a meeting next week
Okay.
of just of the subcommittee.
Okay.
Not us, just the
Okay.
school committee, and they'll be talking about some of the stuff, and then we'll see where they're at. There's a part of the agenda shows a discussion of their attorney, the results of their attorney talking to the attorney that Eastham, Orleans, and Brewster hired.
Okay. And we've talked about item under old business D is the Nauset regional budget update, and that's what we've been discussing. Is there anything that anybody else needs to add under old business? We did not get a town manager report, so I guess the only thing I have under that is that the EV stations are now working.
Yep. We got replacements, and they were commissioned
Contract?
this past week, and they're all working, and we're going to start charging fees again.
Yep. Thank you. Anything else under town manager and staff
Nope.
updates? And I'm going to ask, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
And all 7 of us are offering to. So Patty, you raised your hand?
I did.
Did you? And Roy, everybody's hungry? Okay. I have, let me see, I have exactly 6:30. Is that,
Take a vote.
yeah, do I have a motion to approve adjourning?
Yeah.
I make a motion.
7-0, 7-0, 6:30. Okay.
Bye all.